Well, let's get started, guys. We have waited for 4 minutes, and I think all of you have joined, right? So before we proceed with migration theory, which we have been doing since yesterday, do you guys have any questions, any doubts on topics which we covered yesterday? How to raise Microsoft case, how to do the practical of Azure site recovery. Do you guys have any questions on that, or the theory part which we have done on migration?
No, sir.
Okay. Today we will definitely not be able to proceed with migration practical because as I told you, I'll require some ready servers. So in this week, I'll be working on my physical server. I'll create two machines. I will uh, put application in them, and then I will start the replication. Next week, I'll be able to show you the migration. So even if we finish the theory today, we will not be able to start the practical. So today's time we are going to spend in clearing your doubts with related to ASR, Recovery Service Vault, and migration. We're not going to network topic or computer or any other topic. Backup, replication, and migration because these are interlinked topics. So we're going to do that if we are left with the time today, right? So if you guys do not have any questions, we can proceed and we can start with the theory of migration. So yesterday, guys, we were discussing 6 hours. In fact, we finished discussing 6 hours. So do you guys have any questions, any doubt? I did send this diagram. I did send these pointers to you on our WhatsApp group. So do you guys have any questions, any doubts?
No, sir.
Is it clear to everyone what is rehosting, what is replatform? See, I told you as in cloud admin, administrator, most of the time your work will be related to this, 90%, right? Maybe it's some 10% you'll work here. This will feel same to you. There is no changes for you. Few more changes which you're gonna see is when you migrate a server to app server, not to server. That is not rehosting. That is not replatforming, right? Uh, when you migrate database, right? Those are the different scenarios which you will see apart from the machine to machine migration. But most of the time, you're going to see this one. However, when it comes to interview, they are going to ask you all of these for sure in one single question. A simple question will be, what are the 6 hours of migration? Simple. 5 words question, but the answer should be this long. You should be able to explain all of this. You should be able to talk about this, that what is retire, when do you retire, what do you mean by retire, how do you come to a conclusion that you want to retire an application or a server. You as in you never do that, but an app owner or your architect team, when they discuss with app owner, but what are the rationale behind it, what are the logics behind it, you should know that, right? This is the reason we discuss all this. Retain, what do you mean by refactoring? You will never be working on refactoring. You're not a coder, right? You're not going to go ahead and assess the current code, whether it is written in Java, Python, some old language, what version are they using, what features are lacking in new application, what features should be there. For this, they will definitely have an application architect, a developer, a tester, right? Many people will be there. Other resources will be there. You won't be doing that. But that does not mean that you should not know this R factor or this R rule. In interview, they'll definitely ask you what are the 6 hours of your migration. Is this clear to everyone?
Yes.
Okay. So, uh, as I told you yesterday, first we will see the database migration, and then we'll go ahead for the machine migration. But we were talking about the pre-migration details before we go for data or machine, whatever. So let's talk about pre-migration uh, steps or pre-migration things which we take care of. So normally when you start the interview answer, whenever someone asks you about the migration process end to end, right? Where your role fits, that's a different area. You will have to specify that, okay, from here I start working, or this is my team's responsibility, or this is where I come to picture. But you should explain end-to-end process of migration. So you will start with pre-migration. In pre-migration, what do? We review cost. Now here when you say we, it's not you as a cloud admin. This is your architect team. right? But you are explaining the process. I told you in migration, you will be limited when it comes to portal. You'll be having limited tasks to perform. It's not that complex, especially if you have done replication proper manner. If you have understood that in proper manner, then this is not a big task for you, right? But the whole process, it's difficult. It's huge and it's vast, and you will have to explain the complete process. You can't simply say, as a migration engineer, I can simply just go ahead, replicate the machine, and migrate, and that's all I understand. What happens in the background, I don't know. My architect team takes care of that. No, that is not the way you can answer, because you should understand the process, right? Even if it is not your responsibility, you should understand what's going on in the background. And why is it required? Because uh, many times it will happen that you have planned something XYZ, and at the time of execution, that is not possible because like I was telling you, migration takes time. Do we have Prabhat was asking this question, right? He has not joined yet, right? So he was saying कि 2 महीने में migration हो जाएगा. No, that's not the way it works. Sometimes your assessment, your pre-migration things, they are done, let's say January 2024. It took 3 months or 6 months to complete the assessment. Right? June 2024. Then they will plan the migration in June 2025 or maybe March 2025. So there is a gap of 5 to 6 months in between. So maybe your architect designs something else. The design, okay, X sort of machine size should be used. But in those 6 months, Azure has changed many things. वो machine available ही नहीं है. Now, you as an administrator will have to work on this कि इस machine के जाए what can be the alternate machine, or if this service was suggested, this service is no longer available from Azure. So what should be the new service? You don't take the decision again, as I told you, right? You don't take the decision on behalf of client, but what you do, you suggest them. And you suggest them, you will be able to suggest only when you understand things, right? So this is the reason you should know the process completely. Now, just for one machine or one change, you will not ask your architect team to go back and talk to client and do the whole process again, right? Your architect team, they have designed something. They have given the design low level diagram, high level diagram to you with complete details. Now you're working with client. Now you are facing the client directly, right? Now you are sending emails on daily basis. You are talking to them on Teams. You are submitting the calls to them. You are submitting the reports to them. You are scheduling calls with them. So for minor changes, you cannot ask your architect team to come back and do the whole process again, right? Hence, you should understand this process. Even you will have to. And when you talk in an interview, you can't say कि हमको एकदम सब कुछ बना बनाया आता था and I don't know anything. Just as a robot, I can uh, click on few clicks, four clicks here and there, and that's it. That's how I work as a migration engineer. No, if you can do this, वो तो कोई एक इंजीनियरिंग का फ्रेशर स्टूडेंट जो है इंजीनियरिंग पास आउट का वो भी कर लेगा for 3 LPA, right? Why should they pay 16, 17, 20, 25 LPA? I showed you yesterday how much are they ready to pay. So they're not paying you just because you can do 4 clicks. They're paying you, so you should have this understanding. So even if architect team is not there, you should not be dependent on them for each and every change and each and every slightest वेरिएंट फ्रॉम द एक्चुअल डिजाइन. एंड दैट हैपेंस अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम. बहुत बार होता है कि आप डिजाइन कुछ करते हो और एग्जीक्यूशन के वक्त यू रियलाइज दैट दिस इज नॉट पॉसिबल, दिस इज नॉट feasible. It could be and it's not necessary every time. There are some changes in Azure. Sometimes even your architect team has done some mistake, because trust me on this, as an engineer, you will have more experience on portal compared to an architect. An architect will not see the portal in 2 or 3 years. They are more into designing. You are daily working on portal. So if an engineer says, okay, if an architect says in his design that you go ahead in this region, select this version of machine and build 4 machines, but you are working on the portal on daily basis, you definitely know that this machine or this particular service is not available in that region for sure, right? So this happens. It's not a big deal. It will always happen. Last moment changes वगैरह वो हमेशा होते रहेंगे. So to understand that what is the process कि उसको change करना है फिर से कैसे करना होगा, that is the reason you should know the process of migration end to end. And that is the reason they are asking you these questions in your interview as well. They are hiring you for uh, Migration engineer, they can simply just ask you the portal questions कि कहाँ पे click करना होता है, what will you create, give me that, and if you know that, it's okay. No, but they will, I'm sure about it, they will ask you end-to-end process. Even if they don't ask, if they just simply ask question in one statement, uh, explain the migration process in your company. This is how they ask. Okay, you have worked on migration, can you please explain the migration process? So you simply don't have to start from portal. What we are going to do on portal, that I'll show you, that where your role starts, right? But you don't have to just say that, you have to talk about the whole process. Is this clear to everyone, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So talking about the process, very first thing which comes to it's pre-migration. Now what is a pre-migration? In pre-migration, we as in I'm talking about the complete company. Let's say UT-Kloud has a contract from some bank and we are doing their migration. So we as a company, we UT-Kloud, we review the cost, services, provider, etc. in this assessment. It takes months. Now, when I'm saying provider, we haven't even decided here that we are going with Azure. It could be AWS or GCP. So just imagine that जहां तक decide भी नहीं हुआ है कि Azure पे जाना है, how would you guys come to picture, right? यहाँ पर आप लोग picture में आओगे भी नहीं, but still you should know the process. Here they will require someone who knows cloud platform across the market. GCP पता हो जिसको AWS पता हो, Azure पता हो, right? Then only that person will be able to compare and help these companies. So you're not even coming to picture here, but you should know the process. So here we review the cost. Now, what do you mean by cost? For example, uh, one virtual machine. This is just an example, right? It's very vast from this example when it comes to cost. But one virtual machine of 4 GB RAM, to 500 GB hard disk, two CPUs. It is Windows machine. It is costing me $30 per month in Azure. It is costing me $28 in AWS and $32 in GCP. What would you suggest to a client? Where should we go? Yes, guys, what will be your benchmark? Here in this case, forget the amount. So what will be your benchmark? Yes.
Azure.
Yes, the benchmark is lowest cost, no matter which cloud.
Yeah.
Benchmark is lowest cost as of now. And it's
Yes.
not only cost, by the way, right? We'll also talk about security features, governance, compliance, their customer surveys, their discounts, etc. Everything will be discussed. This just simply looks like one word cost, but it has a lot of things there. Right? What if I'm planning to take 3 years commitment with you guys? Are you going to give me some discount? What kind of service plan will I get? Now we have seen how to raise a case with Microsoft, so we have also seen service plan. Maybe AWS is giving me $2 less, but they are not giving any free service. And I'm sure even if I have excellent engineers in my team, I will always require vendor support, right? Microsoft is selling or it's renting one machine for $30. By the way, these numbers are vague, guys, right? We'll have to go to portal to check the exact number. So these are numbers just for your understanding. So if Microsoft is charging me $30 per month for machine, but with that, it's giving me free support. Right? In AWS charging me $28, where I'm saving $2. However, there is no free support. For support plan, I will have to pay $10 extra or maybe $5 per ticket. So ultimately, what will happen? Ultimately I'll end up paying more because I'm sure about it with my experience. Here, when I say I am talking about the company or architect team, right? So I'm sure about it with my experience that will always require vendor support help for maybe some for new feature, maybe something is broken, our engineers are not able to fix, that we will have to raise a ticket. Looking at our 5 years data, we have observed last 5 years, we have observed that on an average we raise a ticket with vendor twice a week. तो मतलब हर 2 वीक में एक टिकट हमारा जा ही रहा है या एक वीक में दो टिकट जाते ही है. This is what we have understood. So in this case, which is cheaper deal for us then? It's Azure. ठीक है, one time $30 ले रहा है वो $2 $2 extra compared to AWS, but I'm getting free service plan, right? So this is what it means when I say cost. Is it clear, guys? It's not only simple एक मशीन की बात नहीं है, इसमें नेटवर्किंग कॉस्ट आ जाएगा, इसमें स्टोरेज कॉस्ट आ जाएगा, everything will be there. Is this point clear to everyone?
Yes.
And the tools which they use, one of them is Azure Pricing Calculator, TCOS tool, which talks about total cost of ownership, etc. There are many tools which your architect team will use, and then they will decide the cost. Services. I am looking for some particular analytical services which is not there in Azure or AWS. It is only there with GCP. So there is no way I can suggest Azure or AWS. If it is with GCP, we simply have to go with GCP. If it is there with AWS and Azure and it is not there GCP, and then GCP is out of the way. Then we'll definitely go either with AWS and or Azure. Now either or that we can again come back to cost and see which is cheaper, which is giving me more value. I'll go ahead with that one. Is it clear, guys?
Yes.
It's not only available service, it's also their available regions. For example, UAE, it didn't have Azure regions for a long time. Now we have in UAE, but there are more services, more features which are not available in some particular region. So there is no point we suggest that cloud, right? Let's say we are talking about availability zone. We have done the assessment of clients' current infrastructure, their data center. We have seen there are many servers which can use availability zone for high redundancy, and then we see that this client is for example UAE based, and they have some compliance reason that they cannot keep their data outside UAE, right? So it's compliance, it's their government requirement. They're bound to keep their data in UAE. But then I realized that UAE में availability zone है ही नहीं. Then I cannot suggest Azure. By the way, I'm not sure if it is there or not. We will have to again check that. This is just for your understanding, guys. Right? I think UAE में फिलहाल availability zone है. But this is for your understanding. If you are planning availability zone and if it is not there in UAE Azure, then we cannot use it. Either we'll have to change our strategy, change region if that is possible. But if that is compliance issue, we cannot change the region, then we'll have to go and search for some other option, AWS or GCP. Again, I told you all this communication, everything, it is not yet coming to you. So you don't have to worry, how would we know about GCP? How would we know about AWS? That your architect team will do it. Got it, guys? Clear till here? So you review
Yes.
cost, service, provider, etc. Now, this is the reason that this assessment takes months. Yeah. So you can say this, that before even it comes to us, this is what this is how it is working in background, and then it takes months. Who are involved in this? It is called Cloud Center of Excellence team. Whatever team they build, it is normally called as Cloud Center of Excellence team. You can use this term. This is very widely used term, and this is I would say it's a standard term. Most of the companies will use it. So you can say that we have a Cloud Center of Excellence team. That team takes care of these things, but I'm aware of it, right? And who are part of these team? Mostly your architects, your client's CFO, Chief Financial Officer, CTO, Chief Technology Officer. So you'll see all top management people there. Most of the time you will see this team sitting in some cabin wearing tie etc. वो high level का meeting होता रहता है उस तरह से you will see them. They are discussing because very first thing, whatever they are trying to do or whatever they are trying to select कि इस क्लाउड के साथ जाना है, वहां पर जाना है, माइग्रेट करना है, रिटेन करना है, very first thing which is involved is your money. Hence your CFO will be there for sure. You cannot go ahead without their approval. Okay? So more than technically एक business meeting type हो जाता है, right? So you don't have to say that you have worked in this or you are a part of this, but you should know, right? So Cloud Center of Excellence team, it takes care of this thing. Is this clear?
Yes.
Okay. Here your architect team will be a part of it. Other than that, mostly client people will be there, their finance department, their technology department, they will be there, right? Okay, once that is done, and it's not only amount and provider we decide, we also decide application owners as well, will be there as well. Why? Because we will have to understand that what kind of failover or downtime is affordable. Okay, we have 20 applications. Out of those 20 applications, 15 are in test or stage or development environment. We are okay with it. We can give you more downtime, but 5 of them are prod applications. These 5 applications cannot give we cannot give you a downtime more than 3 hours for each application. right? And that too on Sunday, that too on Saturday, or we can give it only on national holiday. Whatever the reason is, or whatever their rationale is, based on that they discuss the downtime and failover. That what if it doesn't work well, what if I am trying to migrate, and if that doesn't work, I will have to go back and start the actual servers and again do the repointing of DNS, etc. So what kind of failover can we expect or can we afford? And all these details will be discussed in these meetings of pre-migration. So normally it will definitely takes months. Is this clear, guys, to everyone?
Yes.
Right. Next is your assessment. This is what we're talking about. In pre-migration, also we are doing an assessment, but that is not a technical assessment, guys. That is not a technical assessment, right? In pre-migration, whatever we are doing, it's simply on, you will see Teams meeting, MOMs, some blueprints, their existing blueprints, existing architecture diagram, your architect team creating new diagrams, pen, paper, diary, etc., PPTs, video, ये सब कुछ देखेगा pre-migration में. ये भी एक assessment ही है. Okay. But now we are talking about the actual assessment of those servers. Right. This is where the your cloud admins or cloud engineers, platform engineers, implementation engineers, migration engineer, whatever you want to call them. This is where your role will start. So please be focused on this and do ask the questions if you have any. Right. We are not going to portal today, though I will show it to you, but we are not going to start anything on the portal today. It's now assessment. What do you mean by the assessment? In assessment, we will do we do the discovery and assessment using some tool. Now, what do you mean by discovery and assessment? On my in my on-premises data center, I have 2,000 servers, right? So I'll have to discover them first, whether I'm able to connect to them or not, whether I'm able to discover them or not. Are they all working or not? Maybe some of them are shut down, some of them are not connected to network, etc. Right? Those are server information कहाँ से आ गई? ये तो paper से information आई है. In the pre-migration assessment which we have done in pre-migration, so they share the list कि हाँ ये 2000 servers हमारे पास है. But did we literally check any technical connectivity? No, not yet. That we are doing in assessment. Right? So how do we do that? We have some tools for that. One of them, very famous and free tool, is your Azure Migrate tool. Now, Azure Migrate tool has two versions, Azure Migrate tool and Azure Assessment tool. So here we are going to use our Azure Assessment tool, Azure Migrate Assessment tool. So let me show it to you. If you go here, and if you search for Azure Migrate, now look at this. What all can we migrate here? So we can use Azure Migrate tool. Now here we have to come in Azure Migrate tool, and we have to decide that what are we discovering? Are we discovering servers, database, and web apps? Or are we discovering databases, right? Or are we exploring some other scenarios? So as of now, we are talking about server, database, and web apps. Everything covers here, right? So you click here. Obviously, you'll require a project. Don't worry about these steps. This is not the practical we are doing, right? Practical हम लोग फिर से करने वाले हैं. So I'll show it to you step by step. As of now, I'm just showing it to you. So you can you get to see what I'm talking about, right? So these are the tools. One of the tool is Azure Migrate tool. Azure Migrate tool, it's your internal tool which Azure provides, where you do not have to pay anything, right? Where you do not have to pay anything. It's free. Whenever you have taken the Azure subscription, it is free with your subscription, right? Let's create one project. I'll explain all this, whatever it is, right? Public endpoint, geography, what should you select? As of now, we are not learning the portal. So don't worry. We are learning the theory part, but just for you to relate it, I'm showing you the portal. Portal, we are going to learn click by click in a next session or whenever we're doing the practical. So this is your Azure Migrate Discovery and Assessment tool. and this is your migration and modernization tool. तो ये Azure tool है, Azure assessment tool. इसके दो parts है, Azure Migrate Discovery and Assessment tool, Azure Migrate Migration and Modernization tool. So as of now we are just talking about the assessment. अब तक हम migration की बात भी नहीं कर रहे हैं, ठीक है? So this is the tool which you can use, which is free. You can talk about it that I have used this in most of my projects. But is this the only tool we have? No. Guys, please make sure you're making note of this somewhere, etc. Right? Or remember these, because these are the questions which you are going to get in your interview. No one is going to hand you a computer, share the screen, and ask you to perform a migration for them. That is not going to happen. The only way to judge you for your interviewer is by asking questions. Right? So is this the only tool which we have? No. What are the other tools we have for assessment? So you can click here, add more assessment tools. If you click here, you will see Cloudomize, Cloudsphere, Corent. I have used this tool Corent and Carbonite. I've used these tools. These are good tools. I can show you some results as well of Corent. I do have. I'll have to just sanitize those. Those are the actual results which I had from my one of the freelancing clients. Right. So I'll show you that. Turbonomic is also one of the famous tools. So these are the tools. But what is the difference between these tools and Microsoft Azure tool? These are paid tools. These are not by Microsoft. They have just affiliation with Microsoft. Hence, you can see these tools here. They are obviously paying something to Microsoft. So Microsoft is listing their tools here. But you as a client, if you're using this, you will have to pay to these guys. This is not free for you. If you want a free tool, this is your free tool, Azure Assessment Tool. Got it, guys? Like we have Windows Firewall, which is free for us, but you can go ahead and you can purchase some F5 firewall, some other Symantec firewall. Similarly, this is a migrate tool from Azure, Microsoft Azure, which is free. However, those tools you can use and those are paid. When it comes to migration as well, you can use Azure Migrate tool, which is free, and you can use one of those tools, but you'll have to pay. And you see, assessment tools are different. I mean, there are more. Look at this. Cloudsphere is there, Cloudomize is there, Corent, etc. Carbonite is not here. But when it comes to here, uh, Corent is there in both one. Carbonite is here for migrate. I've used Carbonite, I've used Corent, right? But these are 4 tools. Over there we have 6 tools. You can use any of these tools. Is this clear, guys, till now? Any doubts, any questions till
Understood.
now? Yes, guys, any doubts?
No.
Okay. One question. What do you think? This is definitely they ask in interview most of the times. Uh, do you think I can do the migration assessment using Azure Migrate tool and then do the migration using Carbonite? I don't want to use same tool. I want to use Azure assessment tool for assessment, but Carbonite for migration. Or I want to use Corent for assessment and use Carbonite for migration. Do you think that is possible?
Yes.
Yes, it is possible, right? So if someone is
Yes.
asking you in your interview, please make sure and be firm about it. Yes, it is possible. And vice versa. You can do assessment with Current, do migration with Azure tool. You do assessment with Azure tool, do migration with Carbonite. Anything. I mean, any combination will work. I don't have to say take all the names. Any combination, anything will work. Current Carbonite, Carbonite Current, Azure Migrate tool, Carbonite, Azure Migrate tool, Current. Anything will do. Cloudomize and Azure Migrate tool, Cloudomize and Current, Cloudomize or Carbonite here and there, everywhere, every combination will work. Is this clear, guys, to everyone?
Yes.
Right. So if an interviewer is asking you, please make sure you do not fumble, you do not have any doubts in your mind. Right. Please make sure that very clear and crisp, you should be able to say, yes, that is possible. Got it, guys? Please do let me know if you have any questions, any doubts. Please do not hesitate. Do not keep it to yourself. This is very important. I told you your half of the interview depends on your migration understanding. Hence, we are taking whole session on theory part. Right. So if you guys have any questions, please do ask. Right. So this is what we were talking about the assessment. So we can use Azure Migrate assessment tool. it is recommended to give sufficient time for the assessment for better results. Now, someone was saying, Prabhat was saying, right? I wish he would have joined today. I'm answering most of his questions in today's session. I hope you watched the recording. Right. So, uh, it is recommended to give sufficient time for assessment to get better result. Now, what do you mean by first thing discovery? Let's say I'm using one of these tools. So I get to know that there are 2000 servers in on-prem. So do you think I'm assessing all those 2000 servers at a time?
No,
No,
it will
definitely not.
take some time. Yeah.
Definitely not. We will not even do start the assessment for 2000 servers. We'll go in chunks. Initially, ठीक है 2000 discover हो गए ना, let it be. Let's start the assessment of 200 servers. That to test servers. Don't even touch my production servers yet. Start the assessment of 200 servers. Now, what is it saying? That it is recommended to give sufficient time for assessment to get better results. Now, what exactly do you understand by assessment? Assessment में क्या होता है? How do you start assessment technically? ये आपके servers में जाके data कैसे fetch करेगा? That is not what we are learning here, guys, right? So do not ask those questions and do not confuse yourself with those questions. वो हम करेंगे technical part. I'll show it to you. Don't worry. पूरा डिटेल में step by step, click by click, we are going to do that. What we are trying to do here, what we're trying to understand, it's your approach or the terms we are trying to learn. So what do you mean by assessment? Assessment में क्या होगा? Out of those 2000 discover servers which you have discovered using some tool, now your client has given permission or it has been decided in team with your architect team that okay, let's start assessment of 200 servers initially. You start the assessment. Assessment में क्या होगा? किसी तरह का client वगैरह जो भी आप install करते हो, whatever it is, we are going to see that in our practical whenever we do the practical, right? There it will start fetching the data of your existing servers. It is not yet replicating, guys, right? Please make sure to be very calm. Start writing the notes, start taking notes. If you want to use some diary, notepad, whatever you want to do, but understand the phases properly. I have not yet started the replication. Assessment में मैं data को क्लाउड क्लाइंट के डेटा सेंटर से डेटा अभी तक मैं नहीं हिला रहा हूँ. So even if client is asking, are you touching my data? No, we are not touching your data as of now. So what are you assessing on? It is assessing your server on utilization of your RAM, CPU, patterns, when do you use it most, etc. It's a huge list. I'll show you the results. Maybe not today. I'll see how can I sanitize them. When I say sanitize them, as in I want to remove the client's name and their server name, etc. Right? So, uh, so to start the assessment, uh, you will have to install some clients, etc. We'll see how to start the assessment. We'll see that later. But what happens that it will start recording or preparing the assessment based on the utilization of your servers. That how many users are hitting the server at 1 p.m., what load is happening on the server on 2 p.m., what kind of resources are being utilized at 3 p.m. Exactly, right? Exact, maybe hours based pay, minute based pay, however it wants to use. So what is it saying? That it is recommended to give sufficient time for assessment for better results. So now, what do you think it's a sufficient time? What is your definition of sufficient time? As per your understanding, can someone just tell me? Just give me one word answer also, it's okay. What is your definition of sufficient time? मेरे एक एप्लीकेशन है, लेट्स से द सेम एप्लीकेशन जो आप लोगों ने कल देखी, एंड आई एम टेलिंग यू कि असेसमेंट करना है, यू आर सेइंग सफिशिएंट टाइम देना है. आई एम सेइंग व्हाट इज द सफिशिएंट टाइम? Yes, yes, it's okay, you can be wrong, right? We have not covered this topic, so you don't have to be right. Just trying to understand your approach. What is the sufficient time according to you?
To give an enough time for the
No, sufficient enough is same thing. I'm asking the number. I'm not asking some other word for sufficient. Give me a number.
At
What did
least
you?
1 day.
Okay, you say 1 day.
At least
Anyone
1 day.
else?
Yeah.
Anyone else who says
it,
1 hour is okay, 1 week is enough? What do you think?
no, at least 24 hours.
It's same thing. 1 day, 24 hours. What else? Yes, guys, what about you? What do you think? What is sufficient time according to you?
It depends on the
1 week is
capacity of.
also
No, perfect. No, see, someone has answered a month, etc. But I think Hanif has answered. That depends completely on the application. Completely depends on the application, right? If I have an application, okay, guys, in this session we have only 30 seconds left, so let's stop and let's rejoin immediately without any break, so we don't break our rhythm, right? And we'll continue with this question. I'll explain it to you how it works and what it depends on. Okay, is sufficient? हर एक के लिए एक अलग अलग होगा, right? So let's join without any break using the same link. I'm stopping the session now.